My name is Bill Myers. I'm a writer and a filmmaker. And tonight we're going to talk about choices. The type of choices you and I make nearly every day of our lives. You know, the unusual thing about choices is sometimes you can't tell if they're right or wrong until years afterwards. Tonight we have with us a very unique guest, someone who can look over his past choices and share with us his insight. His name, David Berkowitz, better known by most as the son of Sam.
In the mid-1970s, New York City was brought to its knees by a deranged serial killer. He randomly shot his young victims with a .44 caliber pistol for no apparent reason. Fear and terror gripped the whole city, and no one was certain when or where the killer might strike again. Known simply as the Son of Sam, this urban terrorist publicly and arrogantly taunted authorities with his senseless crimes and threatening letters. Before the terror came to an end, 6 innocent people were killed, 7 others seriously wounded. On August 10, 1977, David Berkowitz was arrested, charged for the shootings, and eventually given 6 consecutive life sentences.
My name is David Berkowitz, formerly known as the Son of Sam. I'm here in a maximum security prison in New York State where I'm doing life without parole. I'm here to talk to you today about choices, the choices that you will have to make that may affect your life forever.
You know, initially, if we make a bad choice, it's not that big of a deal. Seriously, it's like this is the good choice. And the bad choice just veers off a few degrees. I mean, who cares? The difference is barely noticeable. At least at the beginning. It's a funny thing about adolescence. As we prepare to enter adulthood, we start questioning everything. From the rules to the rule makers. For some, our parents suddenly become cruel dictators or mutant morons. Now, in one sense, this is perfectly normal, even healthy, as we finally cut the cord to our parents. But experiencing these emotions and acting them out through rebellion or disobedience are two separate matters. This is 1105 Stratford Avenue, the childhood home of David Berkowitz. This is the place where he started to make some very serious, life-changing choices.
There were times when I would just run away from home and disappear and not come home till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And this is even as a young child, and my parents were frantic and they were hysterical and they were angry, you know.
When I was 13 years old, I ran away from home for a whole 2 days, and that's when I started drinking. It's also when I started having sex. Just got tired of doing what Mom and Dad said because they didn't want to let me do anything, so I was going to go do it whether they wanted me to or not.
I thought rebellion was good because I thought I could be my own person. I didn't have to listen to my parents, the church, the law, teachers, school, whatever. I thought I could do anything I wanted.
There was times when I was so out of control and so rebellious that my dad and my mom would just cry bitter tears over what they saw my life was, what they saw I was becoming. And my dad used to cry and plead with me to come and talk with him. And he says, I don't even know you, you're my son, you're like a stranger.
Things were bad at home, and I didn't get along with my parents. It was a bad situation, and it was hell at home, but I basically traded one hell for the other when I went to the streets because I had no idea what the streets were. The worst thing about the streets for me was I was living in squats in abandoned buildings, and I ended up turning tricks, and I ended up selling myself for sometimes just a hamburger at night. And I never thought that my life would have ended up that way.
There are a lot of consequences of rebellion and disobedience, and if you think about that before you do it, I guarantee you won't.
If I can go back in time, I would change all that. I'd be a loving son. I'd be a son that would hug my dad, you know? I don't know, I used to be ashamed to hug my dad. I used to be ashamed to show anybody affection.
It's without self-control. You can just let everything out, no matter who it hurts, no matter what.
I just wanted to do what I felt like doing, and that was it, you know? When I was angry, it just struck out at somebody.
You can kind of let out your feelings whenever you want. Just, you know, say whatever is on your mind.
Can you ever think of a time when you said, okay, now I'm going to exercise that self-control, now I'm not going to let the anger rule over me?
Yeah, well, to be honest, most of the times I just let it go, you know? It was just seems to be too much to hold it in. It seemed to be easier to just let it go than to just hold it in.
So your choice most of the time then was to go the anger route.
Right, to be bad, to be rebellious, to be cruel, you know?
When you don't have control, you make a lot of decisions out of panic, out of fear, and it just tears you apart.
Just having it just helps you to be a whole lot more thoughtful of others' feelings.
Choices. At first, our wrong choices are barely noticeable. I mean, they're only off a few degrees. But gradually, as the days turn to weeks, turn to months, turn to years, those few degrees can lead us down a path that's miles from where we want to be. And it was here, at Christopher Columbus High School in the Bronx, that David Berkowitz made another important choice.
I cut out of school an awful lot, you know? I know I had to be there, you know, those were the rules, but I says, hey, I can't stay cooped up in this place, you know?
The good thing about cutting class is that you don't have to deal with what's going on in the classroom. You don't have to deal with authority. You can go out and do whatever you want.
You know, getting out into the world, being your own person, you know, starting a career or whatever on your own. You don't have to rely on your parents.
One of the things that I thought was positive about dropping out of high school was basically making money.
You could hang out with your friends, and you go to the malls, you meet guys there.
So tell me, what were your teachers like?
The teachers? The teachers hated my guts. They absolutely hated me, and it's not that I meant to be bad or evil or anything like that, but I was just totally out of control. I couldn't sit still for nothing. I was filled with energy. I would just get up in my chair sometimes and start reaching out to grab somebody or scream or shout, and the teachers used to yell at me, you know, you either, look, David, you either sit still or shut up or get out. So I got out.
So you got out?
So I got out. I said, okay, I'm leaving too, you know.
A couple years later after I dropped out, you know, I lost respect for myself for not finishing it. And had doubts on whether I was going to make anything in my life or not, since I couldn't even finish high school.
It's just so hard getting back. Teachers don't respect you. They think that you don't care. You know, they think, you know what, this is a loser, somebody who really ain't into learning.
I can't read. I can hardly write. I can't get a job because I have no high school diploma.
You'll never see what your true potential was and how far you could have gone in life.
I was always into some kind of trouble or some kind of mischief. And the teacher said, you know, you could be a wonderful student, because there were times when I would sit there a few weeks and do excellent work, you know, and they said, you have such potential.
Sex. What an incredible invention. I mean, God was definitely having one of his better days when he dreamed this one up. What a marvelous way for two people to share the depths of their emotions for each other.
You go along with your feelings. It's very easy to go with what your body feels. And sometimes it's almost like you really feel somebody cares about you.
It was like an achievement, like you obtained something. It felt good, plus everybody else knowing that you were having sex made you cool.
Yet, like everything else, sex can be turned upon itself. It can use and abuse, creating devastating consequences, both emotionally as well as physically.
I had my first child before I was married, and it really brought down a lot of responsibilities on me at a very young age.
You end up paying a price, especially for a girl. They have a long-term consequence.
Yeah, when I was in high school. I believe I was like 15 or 16 years old. I made some bad choices about my sex life. I ended up catching a venereal disease at the age of 15 from some girl I didn't even know who had so many women. I didn't even know who I caught it from.
Waiting till you're married to have sex is good because you don't have to worry about pregnancy, about disease, about all the things that, the bad sides about sex.
That's the physical side of misusing sex. What about the emotional?
I made a bad decision having a one-night stand with my boyfriend. That one-night stand led to a pregnancy, and that pregnancy was unwanted by him. And he talked me into an abortion. I always said to myself I'd never do that because that would be murder. That would be killing a human. And then I got forced into doing it. After I had the abortion, I woke up and I just started crying because I knew what I have done, and not just to myself, to the baby. It mentally scarred me, physically scarred me, so it's a burden that I'm always going to carry around. I can't take that back.
I noticed that it made me like kind of fit in with everybody, because I just wanted to fit in, and it felt grown up. Everybody always wanted to be older than they were. If you were 16, you wanted to be with the 18-year-olds. If you were 18, you wanted to be with the 21-year-olds. And it made me feel grown up. I'm drinking now. I got a little bottle of Boone's Farm. I'm big man now.
The positive side of drugs and alcohol is that it allows you to escape the realities, the horrible things you're facing in life.
It was just to have fun and to show your friends that you're not a chicken or nothing.
But I also had to deal with the pain of the fact that I was in that addiction and that I couldn't escape it.
When you come down, it's just harder to deal with what problems you were facing, what you were escaping from.
I had no other life. I didn't have a job. Well, my job was selling the drugs so I could support my habit. You gotta stick that needle in your arm, not once a day, not twice a day, but at least 3 or 4 times a day. You have to have it.
The best thing about doing the drugs was what?
I felt good being rebellious. I felt that'll help me to fit in.
And the worst thing was?
I just felt empty inside, like something was dying inside me. Like I don't know, I can't explain, but like I was being poisoned, like I was doing it. And there was this feeling that was saying, well, this is not where it's at, There's no answer here. This is just something to do, but it's nothing.
Peer pressure is being accepted, being with guys who are doing the same thing as you are, no matter what it is.
So I just wanted to be accepted, I was real lonely inside, really depressed, and it seems like everyone else was drinking. All the cool guys, all the cool girls were drinking all the time, and doing whatever they were doing, so I wanted to fit in and be accepted by the bigger crowd.
The best thing about giving into peer pressure was knowing that I was going to get some sort of respect, knowing that I was going to be accepted by the crowds in school.
You blend in. Nobody can actually look right at you. You're in a crowd.
You feel that you fit in with your friends, and no one's judging you.
So did you ever do anything you wish you hadn't as a result of giving in to peer pressure?
Once I was part of that group, then you were expected to go all the way in other things, and you had to go, and I regretted that,
Yeah, I started drugs because of peer pressure, and I just got addicted to it.
I became a person who afflicted peer pressure on others, just from being peer pressured by myself, There's nothing cool about it, I'll tell you that much.
So, any other downsides to giving in to peer pressure?
Yeah, I'm here doing life in prison without parole.
Because of peer pressure.
Yeah, I had a part to play. Yeah. Yeah, I could have said no, but I said yes. I could have got out, but I didn't.
And looking back, you changed that.
Definitely, definitely. I see now I was the biggest jerk, man. I threw my whole life away. And I destroyed other lives, you know, and for no reason. Just disgusted with what I became, you know, for many years. Went bitter, angry, and just tired of everything. The years when I should have been happy and well-adjusted and know where I was going, years I should have had a hopeful living and a vision and a sense of purpose, and I had nothing.
Violence. How many times have you wanted to hurt somebody? Don't look at me like that. We all have.
You felt like you had like a little authority when you were able to deal through violence.
Revenge, returning evil for evil, proving we're the ones with the power, we're the ones to be respected. I mean, what a rush. But feeling these emotions and choosing to act them out, now those are miles apart. How many people did you shoot?
Well, I was charged with 6 murders.
You were charged with 6 murders.
Right. And other shootings.
And other shootings.
And other related crimes.
So you had the choice between violence and nonviolence. You're charged with 6 murders. Tell me about it.
Well, at the time that this happened, it was just an end of a number of years of being involved in Satanism. And I feel that my mind was like gone. You know, I had been, by this time, sold out. I was a slave. I was a servant of the devil. I had gone so far to make all these pacts and everything, and, you know, and, blood pact and agreements and this and that, and like there was no getting out of it. So you're talking about the end of a long, hard, ugly road.
I am a spirit roaming the night, thirsty, hungry, seldom stopping to rest. These are the words of David Berkowitz. For a period of 1 year, from July 1976 until August 1977, 6 people killed, 7 seriously wounded. And it was here, at this exact spot, on July 29th, 1976, that the killings began. You didn't wake up one morning and decide, I'm going to be a murderer.
No.
But
no
it
way.
came as a result of making these other bad choices that led you to that place.
Right, right. This thing here, I never knew. If I would have known way at the beginning of just that this would happen one day, I would never be here. I would never be a murderer. I didn't want to kill anybody. I wanted to live. I wanted to get out of the army, find a girlfriend, live a good life. I didn't want to live like some type of animal like that. If I could go back, I would take that gun and throw that thing right in the sewer. I don't know. It just, one day it was in my hands, and that was it, you know. And then the choice was made. Yeah, I made a choice. Yeah, I'm totally responsible. I'm guilty. Yeah, I'm a murderer. It was so foolish and ignorant of me, and I'm going to suffer for this for the rest of my life, plus other people who lost their lives are suffering terribly. You know, their families are suffering terribly, see? But these choices began way at the beginning. I could have cut the cord right there, and I wish to God that I did. But now it's just like when it went along with the flow.
Violence doesn't really birth anything good.
You grow up with a lot of hate towards people, towards society, because you grow bitter.
There's always somebody tougher than you out there. Someone's crazier than you out there, and sometimes you think you could take on the world, but you can't.
For me, I was facing 27 years incarceration because of my violence.
So how long are you serving time here?
I'm doing life in prison, no parole.
No parole.
No parole. I've been in now almost 20 years.
And you're never getting out?
Never. Never. When the judge sentenced me, he said, "You're nothing but an animal." and I'm putting you in prison for the rest of your natural life. You'll never see daylight again. There's no hope for you.
Is prison so bad?
Yes.
How?
It's a place of despair. You don't want to come to prison. There's nothing here. Just lonely, broken men whose dreams have died. That's all that's here. I walk through the hallways of the prison. I see hopelessness in the faces of these men. I see vacant stares of guys whose spirits have long since died. I've seen men who've just given up on life. And prison is a place of oppressive darkness where you just want to give up. You don't even want to live. You just go through the motions like a robot. And it's not a place to ever want to come to. It's like a hell. Prison is a dead end. Prison, this is a dead end. It's like a house of pain. You know, it's like Misery City, man. It's Misery City.
Definitely not a place where you want to go. You know, your freedom is gone. You know, and you're just sitting there, you know, with a lot of time to think of all the regrets, you know.
It's kind of scary because in the county jails, especially in the female county jails, homosexuality is like a big thing.
What about the violence here? Not necessarily in this prison, but have you run across violence since you've been incarcerated?
Yeah. Well, for one, someone tried to kill me back in 1979, and they slit my throat here.
That's what that scar's about.
Right, yeah, there was an...
What, is that a knife then?
Someone had a razor. A guy had a razor, you know. I don't know what his beef was. He just, you know, felt like killing me one day.
But why do we make these bad choices?
You always want to follow the majority rather than what you really want to do.
I almost always gave in because I was a lonely person. I mean, I just didn't communicate well with people. Even though I had a couple of friends, there was like a lot, as I said, a lot of walls around me. So I just wanted to be accepted, you know. I was real lonely inside, really depressed.
So the drugs or giving into the peer pressure or the alcohol, it was just a way of trying to fill up an emptiness inside you.
Right. I felt like there was a big black hole inside me. Nothing worked.
Nothing worked for David. Nothing could fill that emptiness, that void deep inside him, that longing to be loved and accepted. I wonder how different that is from the rest of us. But instead of turning to something positive to try and fill that void, David Berkowitz turned to the occult.
I was just looking for some friends, and I didn't know that there was a price tag attached to that whole thing. I mean, I didn't take that seriously in the beginning because I just thought, well, that's what those people were into. And so if they want to just have their little rituals, at the time they were just simple, innocent rituals, you know, and people chanting and people reading from the Satanic Bible, and it didn't seem evil, it didn't seem bad. I was more curious than anything. It wasn't my intention to get involved in anything bad.
In the beginning, it starts out as, okay, this is fun, there's no harm, yet like week by week, month by month, you can see a difference. You get sucked into the darkness, and then you sit there going, whoa. You know, it started out as a fun time and it ended up in total dark reality.
Oh, it's like if you're going along a road and you have a sense that you're going in the wrong direction, you know, you want to turn around as soon as possible and get your bearings instead of just keep going. I was on that wrong road. I knew something was wrong, and yet I just chose, I don't know why, I just chose to just keep going with this flow and deeper and deeper. And there came a point where, you know, you can't get out of this thing.
Instead of filling the emptiness in David's life, Satanism only drug him into the depths of despair. He became a hated killer, a convict serving the rest of his life behind prison bars. Living soon became a literal hell. Despair, depression, unbearable loneliness set in. A living hell in which David saw only one way out.
I don't know, I had these urges to just destroy myself because I wasn't happy.
To stop the pain.
To stop the pain, yeah, I wasn't happy. I was missing something in life, even at just growing up as a teenager. And when I got to prison, I tried suicide several times. And I tried to hang up, I tried to smash my head against the wall. I banged my head against the wall as hard as I could when I was in another prison, and they put me in a psychiatric unit.
I tried to commit suicide because I didn't like myself, and so I wanted to end my life and end the pain.
I think I became suicidal because of things that were going on at school. I wasn't athletic, I wasn't, popular or anything, and that really, really depressed me.
There were times I felt so much emotional pain that I thought I was just gonna die from feeling that pain. I saw the only solution, though, was to actually try to end my life to make that pain go away.
I didn't know the good things that were going to be in store for me later on, even while behind these prison walls. I didn't know the hope and peace that I was one day going to enjoy.
Hope and peace?
That's right.
How? How do you get that? If everybody else is walking corpses, where do you come off saying there's peace? You can find peace here.
Through God. I found peace through God. Definitely. I mean, God is real. God is the real deal. He's where it's at.
So how long has this God thing been going on with you?
I've been a Christian for 10 years. 10 years? Believe in God 10 years, right? Had a personal encounter with God Almighty right inside the prison house.
Tell me a little bit about it. What was your first encounter with God like?
I was walking in the yard one cold winter's night, and just to be by myself, and walking around and around, and I was going through a lot of negative thoughts. And this inmate, another prisoner, a young fellow, comes up to me and says, "Dave, you mind if I tell you something?" And I say, "Yeah, bro, what's that?" He says, "I want you to know that Jesus Christ loves you, and he's got a plan and a purpose for your life." And I said, "I know you mean well, but there's no hope for me. I've done too much evil. God doesn't want anything to do with me, guys, so you're wasting your time because I'm just, God has given up with me." And he was telling me all about God. God is a God of hope. God really loves you. He cares about you.
He knew who you were, right? I mean, he knew about the murders.
Yeah, right. I say, well, I don't know if God will really forgive somebody like me. But he says, David, he really would, because he's a God of mercy and compassion and forgiveness. We became friends, and we became closer. And he got me to read the Bible. And as I began to read, I realized I'm missing something. There's something, I'm miserable. I'm hurting real bad. And this has started to bring me a lot of comfort.
Yeah, but how can you be so sure God's going to forgive you? I mean, look at your past, David. Look what you've done. But God's just going to wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, I think I'll forgive Berkowitz." Somebody has to pay something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Jesus paid that price. That's what the Bible says, that Jesus shed his blood on the cross for our sins.
So you're saying Christ died for what you did wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Isn't that a little easy, a little convenient?
He was innocent and without sin, and we were guilty and full of sin. I know I was. And Jesus shed his blood on the cross for me.
Even for a multiple murderer?
That's right. And everybody needs a touch from God. Everybody needs forgiveness.
What has this forgiveness done for you now?
God has given me a new purpose to live. God has given me a hope and a peace that I could never even begin to put into words.
When I received Christ in my life, he showed me a light, a love and an acceptance that I've never felt in my life before. He brings me to loving myself and to accept that, if he forgives me, I can forgive myself.
Well, what Christ has done for me is that he's really taken me out of gang violence, drug abuse, and just being out on the streets. So he just changed my life and turned me into a new creation.
He's shown me that he's my friend and that he cares about how I feel. And the sufferings that I go through.
Life is worth living for me today because I, for the first time in life, have peace and I feel love for the first time, and I think that's something that everyone should experience.
Amazing, isn't it? How just a few wrong choices can ruin an entire life. Like Berkowitz, regardless of how far you've gone off the path, there is a way to come back. No matter how much wrong you've done, there's a way to have every wrong we've ever done be completely forgiven, to have the slate wiped clean and start over fresh and new. David Berkowitz found that way.
At one time, I was called the son of Sam. Today, God has said, you are now the son of hope. That's my new name, Son of Hope, because I tell everyone that there is hope in God.